Today I'm going to give you 3 simple ways to slow down, catch your breath, and hopefully decrease your stress. I am, first of all, not a mental health professional. I'm not a therapist or a counselor. I'm just a guy who has been there and who has learned some really great things the hard way. And so I'll start by sharing a little story with you. A few years ago, I fell asleep at the wheel and had a wreck on the interstate. It was one of the scariest moments of my life. And once I was able to pull over and catch my breath for a couple of minutes, I called the insurance company to report the accident, and the insurance agent on the other end of the line let me know that my insurance had lapsed about a month before that. And of course, my stomach dropped. I thought, how is this even possible? I've fallen asleep on the interstate, had a wreck involving another person, and now my insurance has lapsed. What am I going to do? And, the truth is it's pretty simple how all this happened. So I was working a full-time job. In addition to working that full-time job, I was picking up about 20 hours a week at a second job, plus trying to raise a family, and I was just constantly exhausted. I would drink cup after cup of coffee all day long and well into the night, just trying to stay awake. And then I would need a sleeping pill at bedtime to finally get a few hours of sleep, and then that cycle would begin again the next day. So I'm on the side of the road. My insurance has lapsed. I call my wife, and instead of telling me something comforting and loving and offering support, she said, I'm taking the kids and I'm going to Florida for a while. I can't do this anymore. And I'm standing there alone, other than this state trooper standing beside me. And my world is crumbling in front of me. And it felt like the whole world was just crashing down. And I remember standing in my parents' driveway later that afternoon, and I was trying to tell my dad this same story, and I just fell into a pile of tears. I was scared to death that I was losing the only thing that mattered to me, which was my family, my kids, my wife. And I think the saddest part of this story is that this very same type of thing is what led to my suicide attempt 3 years before this. So 3 years before this accident, I was 29 years old. I was a pastor when I nearly died by suicide. And what led up to all that is a combination of too much work, an abundance of shame around childhood sexual abuse, untreated anxiety, depression, and PTSD, and it all sent me into this spiral that nearly killed me. After the suicide attempt, and after being released from ICU and then transferred to the psych ward for a week and being released from there, my wife and I started going to marriage counseling every week. And then I was also going to individual therapy every week. And in addition to all that, I was checking in with my doctor regularly. I was taking my medication as prescribed, and I was learning about a few things, particularly boundaries. I didn't know anything about boundaries at 30 years old. I was learning about self-care for the first time, learning about saying no. And at some point around the first year of recovery from the suicide attempt, I felt healthy and whole and good again. And so I started picking up more work and kind of getting back into those old routines. I stopped saying no when I should have, and all of it finally caught up with me again. And so my wife left after that accident, after falling asleep on the interstate. She left, and she and the kids spent 2 weeks in Florida with her sister. And it was Labor Day weekend. I remember that. It was Labor Day weekend, so September, about 5 years ago now. And I spent a weekend at a silent retreat at this Catholic monastery in North Alabama. And I told myself during that weekend, something's got to give. Something has to change. I'm back into these old patterns of just constantly being exhausted, never saying no, giving all the time, but never filling back up, and something's got to give. It's crazy to think it's been 5 years since that accident, 8 years now almost since the suicide attempt. And so today I want to share with you just really 3 simple practices that I've kept in place to keep me from wrecking my life all over again. The first thing I want to talk to you about are boundaries. Second, I want to share my very favorite, really simple breathing technique with you. And then third, I want to share this super easy, really great gratitude practice that I use every day, and especially when I'm feeling really overwhelmed. So first, let's talk about boundaries. I'm going to read to you a poem by this guy, David Tennyson. If you are a fan of poetry, David writes some of the most beautiful poetry. Oh my gosh. It's all posted on his blog for free. It's davidtennyson, TENSEN.com. And here's what this poem says. It's called Who Took Your Voice? And here's what the poem says. Maybe you were not created to have your boundaries crossed and your no dishonored. Maybe you were not created to hold all those secrets and all that pain. Just maybe you were not created to tell a partial story to be entirely accepted. I'm going to put the link to David's blog or his website here in the comments. If you're interested, go check it out. I love his work. So, boundaries. Boundaries are never, I don't think ever an easy thing, especially in the beginning. Telling people no, that word no feels like a 2-letter word. It feels so wrong. How could I tell them no? Especially if you have that helper bent to your personality like I do. It feels so awful to say no. But if you only tell people yes all the time, then you're actually constantly saying no to yourself. There's this great book by Byron Katie called A Mind at Home with Itself. And in that book, Byron Katie offers this really fresh perspective on setting boundaries. She says that saying no to people or projects is actually saying a really big yes to yourself. She goes on to say that when you say no to someone, you're actually giving that person permission to show you who they really are. Well, that can sound really scary, right? If I'm saying no to someone and I'm giving them permission to show me who they really are, well, what happens when they fly off the handle? What happens when it makes them really angry and they rage out at me? They guilt me or try to guilt me into crossing my own boundaries, or maybe they start acting really passive aggressive toward me. Well, do it anyway. Do it anyway. As uncomfortable as it feels, setting boundaries to protect yourself, your safety, your sanity, your serenity, it's vital, my friend. It's vital. So I've created this boundaries checklist, and it's a free download on my site. If you go to my website, which is catchingyourbreath.com, and you sign up right at the top of the home screen, as soon as you pull up catchingyourbreath.com, there's this free 5-day e-course on how to face your worry and anxiety. And you can get this boundaries checklist. So I'm going to put catchingyourbreath.com here in the comments. And if you're interested, you can go check it out. It doesn't cost a thing. You just sign up with your name and email, and it's a free 5-day e-course. I'll send you an email every day, once a day for 5 days. And so if you want to know more about boundaries, what are they? How do I set them? Where do I even begin? If I don't know what to do. I've never been a person who's set boundaries. Where do I start? This boundaries checklist will really help. Okay, second thing I want to share with you is my favorite deep breathing technique. It's called the 4x4 method, and it's like so simple it almost feels silly to share it, but it's so good. So before I share this deep breathing technique with you, I want to pause just for a second to say that if you've experienced trauma of some kind that makes breathing techniques really triggering for you, don't do this. Skip over it. I totally understand, and this will just be just 2 or 3 minutes of this video. So if you want to mute it and go do something else for a minute, check your email, whatever, and come back in 2 or 3 minutes, this part will be over. I just don't want it to be triggering for you if deep breathing techniques are too much. Okay, so if you want to try this with me, I would love that. So we're going to start by emptying our lungs completely. Then we're going to inhale on a 4 count. We're going to hold our breath for 4, and then we're going to exhale on a 4 count. Okay? You ready? Let's empty our lungs together. All right, here we go. We're going to breathe in. 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 2, 3, 4. And exhale. 2, 3, 4. Does that make sense? All right, we're going to do it again. Breathe in. Hold it. And breathe out. We do this 4 times, so we got 2 more to go. Breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe out. Starting to feel your shoulders drop a little bit, maybe. Let's do it one more time. We're going to breathe in. Hold your breath. Breathe it all out. You can do that anytime, anywhere. I mean, you see it took us, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds or something to do that together. So it's in for 4. Hold your breath for 4, out for 4. If you can't do that long, start with 2. Hold it for 2 seconds. Some people will do that for 7 or 8 if you have that kind of lung capacity. But just that simple breathing technique can help you slow down for a minute. It can be really grounding and centering no matter kind of what chaos is going on around you. Maybe you got stuck in that social media loop and you're scrolling through your phone mindlessly, for 30 minutes and you don't even realize it, but it's just negative news headline after negative news headline. Put that phone down and do some deep breathing. It's really, really helpful. Okay. The third thing I want to share with you today is my very favorite little gratitude practice. It's so simple. You don't need anything to do it other than just your mind and your body and a couple of minutes. But I want to tell you this. If you are interested in kind of doing the deep dive with gratitude, my friend Tracy Winchell, Tracy hosts the Reboots Podcast, which you should totally listen to. She's a recovery practitioner. She is a gratitude guru, is what I like to call her. And she has just released this 30-day gratitude e-course. And I signed up for it a few days ago, and it is fantastic. I'm going to put the link here for it as well. It's rebootspodcast.com/gratitude. And when you pull it up, you're going to see that regularly she charges $10 for that course, but you'll see right there on that page, there's a coupon code, GRATEFUL. You put in that GRATEFUL coupon code and you get the course for free. So you don't have to pay anything. It's really, really good. So check that out. All right. So my favorite gratitude practice is this. Hold up one of your hands. Most of us have got 5 fingers. Maybe you're cool and you got an extra, who knows? But, I like to do this first thing in the morning, and I also like to do it right before I go to bed. So you look at that hand, and you're going to list off one thing for each finger, one thing that you're grateful for. So here's mine from this morning. Sunshine through my bedroom window. The pillow behind my neck. My little girl waking me up with kisses on my cheek. My 6-year-old, she turned 6 yesterday, and she came sneaking in, tiptoeing in my room, kissing me on my cheek. Daddy, good morning. Oh, sweetest thing ever. Anyway, 4, this stimulus check that we're going to be receiving in a few weeks, most of us. Boy, that's going to be really helpful right now. And then 5 is breath in my lungs and another chance to choose kindness today. See how long that took? And so your 5 things that you're grateful for, they can be enormous things if you want them to be, or they can be really simple. I'm grateful for power. I'm grateful for running water. I'm grateful for, this sweatshirt that feels good on my skin. Whatever those things are that you're grateful for, gratitude for me is this great way to pull me out of that sense of overwhelm and dread and uncertainty, right? I think uncertainty is so terrible for our anxiety. And so when I'm feeling super anxious and uncertain about whatever the future is with this coronavirus, or maybe it's your own chronic illness or your own mental health, maybe you're hanging on by a thread, whatever that is, and it feels uncertain and shaky, gratitude kind of feels like this light that sort of pulls you out of that foggy darkness. And you say, oh, come on, you're just listing 5 things in the morning when you get up, or you're just listing 5 things at night when you go to bed. I'm telling you, when you make it a practice, and maybe it's through doing Tracy's 30-day course, but when you make it a practice every day, and all that negativity starts going, those tapes that play in our heads start playing over and over about all the terrible, horrible things that are happening. And you can pull yourself out by listing some things that you're really grateful for. It is good, good medicine, my friend. So I've created this download, this sheet with an outline of a hand and a few gratitude tips. It's a free PDF download that's in that same 5-day e-course that I mentioned earlier. So again, you go to catchingyourbreath.com, top of the page, there's a 5-day e-course on how to face your worry and anxiety. And I'm throwing that in there as a bonus today. I just added it. So I hope that you will check those out. You can also subscribe and listen to my podcast. It's Catching Your Breath, the podcast. And I share 30-minute tips and tricks on just sort of how to stay calm and catch your breath. I also this is my latest book, Catching Your Breath. I took it and created an audiobook, and you can get the entire audiobook for free just by going to my podcast. So you can listen to all 11 chapters of this baby, Catching Your Breath, The Sacred Journey from Chaos to Calm. If you go find my podcast on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or whatever, you can listen to the entire audiobook for free. Other than that, I would say a few tips are, even though we're physically isolating, don't emotionally isolate. Call and check in with your trusted people, whether that's family or friends or your therapist, whoever that is, that's your sort of trusted people. Call and check in with them. The other thing I would say is keep taking your meds as prescribed. Be still. Pray, meditate, whatever that looks like for you. Do whatever you need to do to get centered every day. Try doing it first thing in the morning, and then do it as many times a day as you need to pull yourself back to center. I know these times are scary and uncertain, and that's just the truth. So whatever we can do to be vigilant about self-care, it is so vital. Other things, I'm going to give you advice that maybe your mom would give you. Drink plenty of water. Eat your veggies. Get plenty of sleep every night. Take a nap. Set boundaries. It's okay to say no. No is not a 4-letter word. Breathe. You feel your shoulders start getting up in your earlobes, right? Because you're so tense. Take some deep breaths and practice gratitude. Again, I've got that free 5-day e-course on how to face your worry and anxiety. It's going to send you 1 free email every day for 5 days. And each day there's some exercise for you to download and work through. So if you're looking for ways to face that dread or worry or anxiety right now, I hope you'll do that at catchingyourbreath.com. Friends, thank you so much for joining me today. And I hope you'll stay in touch. Take good care of yourself, and hopefully I'll be back and see you real soon. See you. Bye.